So I must have hit a button and shut that video off. So here's part 2 about fear. And I'm just gonna sit here. You've had the glitzy videos of the $2 parking lot where we stay and the bridge crossing over into Nuevo Progreso from Progreso. I want to double back and cover what's happened for me in 2.5 years about fear. I grew up counterphobic. Counterphobic means it took me a while in my adult years to understand this, that the way I dealt with fear as a young person was to obsessively, compulsively move towards what I was afraid of. And that's because I had so much trauma from my childhood, from 4 years of being raped by my crazy uncle next door, that I had lost track of the memories. It wasn't until my early 40s that I even remembered all that. I'm gonna place this right here. Good. So I still have some of that. I will just automatically, when I'm afraid of something, I move towards it, which is not necessarily always good. And I trust people too much. That was part of the counterphobic pattern, that I would just automatically trust people unless they fucked me. But they did. And one of the things I learned from 2.5 years on the road and a deep connection with homeless people back in Asheville, and again in Louisville, and again in New Orleans, strong connection with the homeless community there, Galveston, Texas, and then in Brownsville. Addicts, you can trust an addict to be an addict. When they're in the throes of their addiction, they will do anything to get a fix. And I've been betrayed. I've been robbed by people who owed me, who I had done favors for. There was the moment in Chicago where I've been telling people, when we were traveling from Louisville up towards Chicago, and people would say, "Why would you want to go to Chicago? It's so dangerous." And I would somewhat foolishly say, if you're in the good neighborhoods in Chicago, the people who can afford to not live in poor black neighborhoods, it's pretty safe. No, actually, the gun violence is a danger everywhere in Chicago. And I heard gunfights at night in nice neighborhoods. And in the lovely suburb of Oak Park, which is just across Austin Boulevard from the west side of Chicago, which is poor and black, but where my people came from, our Irish family was in Austin neighborhood and the west side of Chicago until I was like 3. But I was like 3 blocks outside of Chicago, in Oak Park, which takes a lot of pride in being integrated, but is not much. Black people live in the south end of Oak Park in general. 3 blocks outside, so I was feeling safe, and I was walking from my car up to a 7-Eleven convenience store, and this car came screeching back towards me, and I screamed, and he stopped inches away from me. And as this tall, young, maybe 30-ish, well-dressed black man stepped out of his car, I did what you do in Appalachia. I screamed at him. I said, "Did you see how close you came to hitting me? You didn't even look." And he never said a word. He took 3 steps towards, he got out of the car, and I thought, okay, this is where we scream at each other. He took 3 steps towards me, hit me with the side of his hand, so fast and so unexpectedly and so forcefully that I went flying through the air and landed so hard in front of this little old black lady who had watched the whole thing that she kept saying, "You gotta go to the hospital." You gotta go to the hospital. I do have this cold still, but much better. And it's productive coughs now. I'm finally coughing the phlegm up. You gotta go to the hospital. And she said, "Are you okay?" And I was on the ground. And I said, "I don't know. Should we call an ambulance? I don't know. Give me a chance to get up." And it turned out I was not injured at all. I never had a stiff neck, never had a sore shoulder, even though I'd literally been lifted off the ground. But I was traumatized. I sat there in my car and got more and more scared because I realized they play by different rules here. They play by different rules. You don't just stand there and scream at each other, you get physical. And the old lady said, "Well, I think the reason he didn't do more, that he didn't hit you with a closed fist or shoot you, was because I yelled, 'Don't do it, brother.'" And what I realized was he limited himself to somewhat minimal violence because there was a witness. When she screamed, he knew there was a witness. So that was scary. I got scared. And I've learned to recognize a bullshitter. I got conned by another homeless guy who was such a smooth talker and not a drug user. His drug was marijuana. He was all about cool and smooth and hip. And he was a fast talker, and he was a flatterer. He flattered me. He was younger, and he was admiring of me being a genuine ex-hippie. He says, "You're such a hippie." And he was playing up to me. Then he stole my iPad. Stole a $600 iPad from me. And when I tracked it on Find My on my Apple phone, I saw where he went. He went to where his girlfriend lived, and then it disappeared. And when I ran into him, he gave me such a line of shit. I said to him, "I want my iPad back." And he made up a story on the spot about these two black guys chased him. He fought them heroically. They made off with the iPad. And I looked at him and he said, "You are making this shit up as you're going along. I can watch you doing it. It's almost like that Saturday Night Live bit where the guy goes, 'That's the ticket.' Yeah. And then, what happened then?" So I'm somewhat less trusting. And my dogs have taught me. Both Pancho, my old Chihuahua, and Magic, my big heroic hunting dog, will at times say, "No, I'm not going there. No, don't go there. That's dangerous." The junkyard in Brownsville, where I so desperately wanted to liberate the junkyard dog, who actually was sweet to my dog, in spite of being chained to his doghouse all the time. And Magic had a sweet encounter with him. They liked each other. Magic wouldn't go back there. And I knew there was danger of being shot. It's Texas. And if the owner of the place saw me back on his property, he could have shot me. When Magic said, "Don't go there," I didn't. So we're almost at 10 minutes. I'm coughing like a nut. I think I need to stop talking. There's going to be more installments because I want to do an installment about why we are not crossing over today, why we are in fact going to live in this $2 parking lot on and off, not every day, but nobody cares what goes on back here, as long as you're not dealing drugs or something. But we'll be back and forth. We'll spend time in the nearby town of West Laco, and I am not going to attempt to cross that border right now. It's too dangerous. And I realized my fear was because my anxiety mounted all day yesterday saying I was going to do it today. And then I shifted to Sunday. And then last night I realized, no, you're broke. You're broke. They may impound your car. You will be fucked. Wait until you get your next check. So you hang out here. You're not by the ocean. You miss the ocean terribly. Hang out here. There's stuff for you to learn here. Okay.